Good evening and salutations, my Beyond the Gates fans. For the most part, this episode was pretty dry. It was a pretty dry episode, but I have to sit there and say, throughout all the moments of me watching the show from day one, that this has got to be my favorite part. And I think y'all know damn well what I'm talking about. We're going to get to it first, okay? This is the Anita, Vernon, Sharon, and Tracy part. Now, in the beginning, it's just Anita being nervous and anxious or whatever, and about to sit there and call that guy and just tell him, listen, the concert's off. And Vernon, see, the problem with Vernon is that he just starts to become a broken record, right? So when I sit there and say things like, well, Vernon acted like Vernon in the situation, y'all can already know where I'm going with this. And that's literally what he does. He talks her down and everything like that, right? Tries to calm her down, his usual Verningness, right? And granted, while I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as far as being a supportive character and a supportive husband and stuff like that, and that's great. Very contrary to, I'm not even going to get into that. But the point is, that's great. But after a while, it just starts to become like a bit repetitive. Then you have Tracy and Sharon at the diner. And already Sharon is starting off with her usual bitter bullshit, right? And Tracy's like, listen, we got a problem. She's like, Anita called the concert off. And now she's angry, because she wants to use Anita to sit there and jumpstart her pathetic singing career. So they talk for a little bit, and long story short, Tracy's like, hey, listen, the only way Anita's going to do it is if we sit there and make it worth it, right? So Sharon comes in that place and just gives, you ever just have somebody just give you the type of energy where you're just like, no, 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 we're not doing this today. We're not doing this today. You can take that bullshit and you can sit there and shove it. You can get the F up out my face. That's was Sharon's energy. And Anita just had enough. Then she walked in there and she was sitting there saying something. Anita was like, no, 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 no. This is not what we're going to do. You're not going to sit there and come at me like that. And she went at both of them. And she pretty much was like, listen, you're not going to sit there and have the high horse. Y'all could have sat there and did something else after I left. Y'all chose not to do that. That's on y'all. I've apologized. I've sat there and did my best to sit there and make amends. And I'm not doing it anymore. You will not use me as your personal emotional punching bag. She just went off on him. And then Sharon, in her infinite wisdom, was like, if you would just zip it for a minute, then I would sit there and tell you what I came here to say, whatever. You always feel like you're in control. I was like, if you're going to sit there and try, if this is your attempt to sit there and try to get her to calm down, to listen to you, saying the whole, you need to zip it, is definitely the wrong thing you can sit there and say to anybody. Okay? I don't know where this chick came from, but Anita was like, you can crawl back in the goddamn hole that you came from. And she was like, no, I'm not sitting there taking your shit. And before, well, Sharon's like, well, I did sit there and change my mind. What is she supposed to be grateful that you decide to grace us with your presence, with your little nasty, bitter ass, bitchy energy for her benefit? And we're all supposed to sit there and just be, grateful and clapping for you? And she was like, no, 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 I haven't changed my mind. This shit is done. And she was pretty much like, listen, you know where the door's at. And she walks off, starts crying and everything like that. And they just kind of stand there and look at each other. I'm like, what did you think you was going to get? It's almost like they were just like kind of shocked. Like Tracy's bitter ass coming at Anita, and then Sharon just being who she was like shocked. Like, God, I can't believe she actually did that. Like, do y'all two got brain damage or something? I just don't understand how if you could sit there and act like an ass of someone, and then when they finally decide to snap back or clap back or whatever, they just kind of stand there like they're mystified. Like, what happened? What did I sit there and say? That's the type of looks that they both gave each other. And then unfortunately, everything else just kind of, start to sink like a goddamn stone. Okay. The conversation with Eva and Ted didn't even really go anywhere. I mean, they're just kind of, connecting and everything like that. Whatever they were there saying, whatever the title was as far as Ted getting Eva to confess or whatever or give her something, that didn't happen. It's just the same shit over and over again. She updates him about her time working at the salon and how much good, how much fun she's having and how great the experience is. And then, of course, they talk about, Leslie and everything. And I'll honestly tell you the truth, it doesn't really go anywhere. And the only thing that Eva says is, I know I should sit there and let her go, but she's my mom and blah, 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 blah. And, on one hand, we get the psychology behind it. On the other hand, we're just kind of sick and tired of seeing Leslie treat Eva like dog shit. And we're just all kind of sit there waiting for her to sit there and say, you know what, I don't need you anymore. That's what we're all waiting for. It didn't happen today, so I don't know. Maybe it'll happen in like 2 weeks or 2 months or something. Um, we'll see. Now, Laura's back, and, she comes back to the office. Kat, Mona, and Nicole surprises her. Then they sit there and talk about justice that they want to sit there and get for Laura. And they're talking about Leslie and Eva. And of course, Kat is like kind of pushing like, well, like Eva did this more than Leslie, or really got to go out to Eva more than Leslie. And of course, Nicole is like, listen, I'm not just saying that she, isn't responsible for the stuff that wound up happening, but she understands that she was kind of just doing what her mom brainwashed her essentially to do. But of course, Kat's like, he was bad, he was this, and da 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 da. She just starts to sound like a broken record. And while that's going on, you got Jacob and one officer. Don't know why did he get two? I guess it wasn't in the budget. But they go and they search Leslie's place, and of course Leslie does her usual I guess Jordan Howard impression and just starts with the riddles and just her usual BS, right? I guess it's supposed to charm some people. For me, I generally just tend to roll my eyes and look at my phone, so that's pretty much where it goes. Of course, they didn't find anything, and of course they go back, and of course, when they go back, Kat is there sitting in Jacob's desk, in his chair, and I'm like, you know, I've been watching the show since the beginning. What was it, February 24th, I think? So, at this point, Kat's Kat's personality is just more of a bear and grin it sort of thing. You know? Like, Kat is not going to win people over anytime soon. For most people. You're either going to be a person that's like, she's interesting and she gets on your nerves, and she's a lot better than vapid ass Chelsea, or she's just another annoying ass character that you just have to sit through for 4 or 5 or 7 something minutes. And that's generally what she tends to do, right? She is being her usual overbearing, over the top, you know, what did you find? This, that, and the third, asking 1,000 questions. While Jacob is not there giving her more information than he would probably give anyone else. And there's a certain point where they're talking and Jacob is not there threatening her because he's like, hey, listen, I don't need this case thrown out because you decide to sit there and take the law into your own hand Because let's be honest, you're rich and privileged and you're just used to doing what you want whenever the hell you want. Kat brings up the whole Danny thing, and then she's like, "Oh, what are you gonna arrest me or something like that?" And my whole thing is like, if this wasn't Jacob you was talking to, and you was talking to other, any other cop, they would have arrested you. Now, of course, Vernon would have did his Vernon thing and been like, "Oh, I know your officer. We sit there. I mean, I know your chief officer. We sit there and play golf or whatever. Just to sit there and threaten the officer into complying with him." And I have my own issues with that, but ultimately, Jacob apologizes for essentially doing his job and being like, "Oh, I don't mean to snap at you. It's just I'm very frustrated," and it generally tends to go nowhere. And I don't even think that Kat even generally gets the message of you are overstepping. Because yeah, we can all sit there and look at that and be like, "All right, listen, we get it. You want to get justice for Laura. You feel that they, what I'm saying, like, these are some bad people, right?" And Eva's not totally bad, but let's be honest, she knows that she's guilty for the role that she played. So it's not like Kat is completely wrong in being like, "Hey, listen, what's going on? I want this chick behind bars." But the way she's going about it, it goes from just being obnoxious to practically undermining what she's trying to do. And I think when you just kind of mix that all in, it's just like, God damn, girl, you are annoying in this story. You are doing way too goddamn much. And I blame both of your parents for that, which, by the way, Nicole and Ted did meet up for a little bit, and they were talking, or mostly Ted was, and Nicole was being mostly receptive. She wasn't really sitting there, like, being angry and yelling at him or anything like that. Like, it was thawing out a little bit. Of course, it didn't take too long before Leslie comes in and just be her usual annoying, obnoxious, over the top self. And Nicole was just like, "Yeah, I'm going." So she knew exactly what she was doing. And Ted was not really too happy about that. And of course, Leslie was like, "Listen, you need to sit there and tell your police people to sit there and back off before I take matters into my own hands." I'm like, so that sounded like a threat right there. But that's the thing with Leslie. Leslie loves to use what I like to call double talk. Whereas she'll say it in a way where it's like if Ted was to sit there and report her, then it's kind of like there's not really much we can do because she didn't actually outright threaten her. You know what I'm saying? She knows how to use certain language to get her point across without going over the top. Um, Laura is kind of screwed as far as like kind of getting back into the swing of things because apparently Eva installs a new program and she's just not really getting it. So she contacts Eva to essentially be like, "Hey, listen, I need you to either uninstall this shit that you put on this computer or help me figure out how to use it." So they kind of talk and they kind of bond a little bit. Eva does apologize. She's like, "Hey, listen, I may not have actually, I didn't run you off the road, but I'm sorry that you're in this position that you're in." And, I guess Laura on some level kind of appreciates that. And so, she doesn't look at her like the most evilest person in the world. Um, I feel like that's pretty much about it. I can't really think of anything else that wound up happening. Like I said, this episode was mostly dry. There was a couple, like I said, the breakout part was, of course, was, of course, the Anita practically telling Tracy and Sharon to kick rocks without socks or go back to whatever shitty parts of the world that you came from and just kind of stay there. Now, I do have a feeling that, they're going to probably do some sort of singing stuff. I'm going to fast forward it like usual. And, I don't know, maybe we'll sit there and see this Dante Green guy. if he shows up in the show. Now, if I miss anything, you know what to do. Write in the comment section. Come to the live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll sit there and talk about all the shows. You know what they are, and our usual time, and I'll see you then.